And welcome. We're on. We've been recording for the last 45 minutes. No, we haven't, Annalisa. We haven't in any way whatsoever. Hi,
We've said some
welcome back.
stuff, you know, we've
I
said some
know
stuff.
the things we say before the podcast goes on, right? No, we can come back to that later, actually, because it's still a true statement what we said. Anyway, welcome back to another episode of If It's in the Mind, It Can Be Managed, the Mind Management Mentors podcast. I'm your host, Cuddy Cudworth. We've brought back another inspiring guest because of the conversations that we can have and what we offer in the world, because I know that we're both in a similar space, but differently. Oh, that was a very Yorkshire thing to say. But welcome back to the podcast. Tell everybody who you are and what you do, and then we'll talk about the subject.
All right. My name is Annalisa. I live in Tuscany, Siena, Tuscany, in the middle of Italy. I am a personal efficiency specialist, behavior mapping specialist, and I run a business school here in Italy.
That persona right there, Annalisa, is not the persona of the person that was chatting before we went live on the podcast.
Was I too
Be real,
serious?
Annalisa. Come on, be
Was I too
real.
serious? Should I do it again?
No, it's fine, but be real. The only thing we have in life is authenticity.
All
And
right.
when we get that the record button, we still become authentic. It's
I
not a
know,
business
I know.
interview. It's
So
not a
I got
business
like
interview.
I put my corporate hat on. So, okay, fine, I'll take it off.
Do you know I had a conversation before we go into the podcast? I had a conversation with somebody about that today, and they went, "Cuddy, I really want to get you into more businesses, but I sometimes worry about the way you dress and the way that your personality comes across. It's fantastic. It lights up the room, but in a business structure, is that something I can really recommend you for?" And I was like, "Trust me when I tell you." I've worked in corporate America for 13 years. I got up really quick on the scale of because of my personality. And I said, if they don't like me, they won't buy me. It's fine. It's not a problem. But the ones that do like me not only buy me, but keep me on the books for a very long time because I'm authentic. I know I'm triggering, but I know what I have to offer, and it's okay to not be corporate and still work in a corporate environment. Just be you, right?
Absolutely. So I can start swearing and using cuss words now.
If you want to, I absolutely do. I've done lots of trainings where I dropped a lot
We
of words.
do. We do. I usually I allow people to warm up to me because, but maybe I should just stop allowing people to warm up to me. Just go in like full blast
Well, I don't disagree with that sentiment, Annalisa, to be fair. I mean, we built why did we build a rapport so quickly, Annalisa?
because we showed up as who we are, kind of fun and free and who cares?
Pretty much, right?
Yeah.
I mean, is that not the? I mean, this is not even the conversation that we're going to be talking about today, but is that
No, but
not the essence of the human code? Most
you're
people
right.
cannot show up as themselves, right?
So ask me again what I do. Ask me again.
Annalisa, welcome to the podcast. What is it you do?
Well, it's great to be here, first of all, again. And second of all, I help people, business people primarily, find themselves and get hold of themselves and work in life, work in their relationships, work at home, in their relationships at home, in their relationships at work, and in their business. That's what I do.
And is
Better?
that not more aligned to everything that you are than, hi, I help businesses and I help do this.
All right, fine. I'll just scratch the pitch elevator. Let's move on. Let's move on.
That then this is real, Annalisa. This is what people are buying.
All
You,
right.
not
Well,
the vision of what we create in the world, but the soul of the person that we're talking to.
right. I make human beings work when they're stuck somewhere. I get them unstuck.
That's literally it. Now, the topic that we are talking about today, which is massively important, and it's the space that we both work in on different ways, is what the fuck is a toxic workplace environment? Why does it happen? And what's the solution for it? And yes, I dropped the F-bomb, but I've been in them. I've been in rooms where I know it's a toxic workplace. I've worked underneath toxic leaders, and I will share a hell of a lot of experience of how I managed to get through it without quitting, having a nervous breakdown, and without losing my sanity. Because I know I'm a caring, hardworking person, but I genuinely lost the will to live working for somebody. So I know what a toxic workplace is. However, we're going to have those conversations and the cost to businesses of you need to recognize what a toxic, how much is it costing businesses?
The data is staggering. I think the UK, we found some facts.
We did.
We did, and in the UK, and in my glasses, almost 50, almost 50. I can't see here from here. 75% of UK employees surveyed say that they've experienced a toxic workplace in the UK. Okay. And 87% of this 75% said that this toxicity hurt their mental health.
Yeah.
Because that's the primary consequence is you start suffering. And then 73% said that it contributed to their burnout.
Yeah.
61% have resigned or considered it because of the workplace culture. I mean,
And I will echo something I've said many and many a times that businesses, I think, could take heart from understanding that people don't leave brands or businesses, they leave bad management. I worked for Royal Caribbean and I didn't leave Royal Caribbean. I liked Royal Caribbean. I liked what they did, and I liked what they did. I left under a different reason, and that was one of the reasons I left.
absolutely. Also because I don't know, how do you want to spin this episode? I mean, do we want to go
We're not
into
spinning anything. We're talking facts, Annalisa.
no, no, no. But how do you want to break it down? Because it's so vast, you know. I think I'll tell you what I would like to bring into this episode is um, why people stay in toxic relationships at work and at home, and how they can get out.
Let's start there.
Because I find that there is a level of acceptance that it is okay. Like people normalize the toxicity, people legitimize that. Many people, I mean, this is my experience when I work with somebody who is in a toxic environment. Well, but it's okay. I mean, they're very stressed. So in their mind, they justify this behavior, therefore they normalize it, therefore they keep accepting and accepting and accepting this behavior until they start suffering and getting sick, or maybe getting headaches, or maybe mood swings, or feeling less motivated, or feeling less capable. So their self-esteem drops, but still the correlation between 1 and 2 is not made automatically. Then here I come and I say, wait a minute, but you work for this person and this person engages in these behaviors and these behaviors are toxic. No, but what do you mean? No, it's not them. I'm not feeling like this because of them. And I know it is because of them.
This is going to be an eye opener for me then. This is actually so I can see where this is. I can see this conversation being so. I want to ask you a question then.
All right, well, I'm here.
And so the question I want to ask is if I'm an empathetic person, because I don't think I do this. if
No, you don't.
no, I don't think I
And
do.
you're not the majority either, are you?
Well, I think I do the opposite. Exactly what you said. The reason I would stay in a certain situation is because I would be looking at the reason behind the behavior instead of just calling out the behavior. But is that not because of the training I have of I always understand there's something behind a behavior, and I instead of just not accepting the behavior and saying I'm going to call bullshit on that.
I don't think a lot of people are able to do that spontaneously. I don't think a lot of people who haven't trained in what we have trained are able to see past the behaviors. The behavior of yelling and offending and criticizing and humiliating and shaming and guilt tripping, that kind of behavior, I think that people just take it as it is. And they have two normal reactions are, oh, what an asshole, or oh, but he's so stressed. I mean, like, he has so many responsibilities. Obviously it depends. I'm not saying that these are the only two reactions. I'm saying in my experience, a lot of people either react to it by kind of getting a little bit defensive and offensive, or they kind of try and justify it and normalize, because otherwise they would have to ask themselves, well, do I need to stay and take this? But if I normalize it and I justify it and I empathize with it, I suck it up, I keep gulping down this ton of crap that this person is throwing at me. And it is only people that have, I think, enough self-worth, enough self-esteem, enough self-governance that are able to do what you did, what I did. I've worked for toxic managers before, and they
Does
crushed
that not
me.
mean I'm accepting that they are toxic and it's funny because a skill I've had to learn is if someone's been an absolute arsehole, my first reaction now is let them finish and then go to them. Are you all right? Because that's not good. I'm not personally offended by that attack because I know there's
But 10
something
years
going.
ago, before your training, now that's how I react too. I mean, thankfully, God does not put me on the same paths at this as these people, in my personal relationships, in my business relationships, in my client relationships. So I do really have, in my recent times, I don't have exposure to these people anymore directly, but I do help victims of toxic people. So now I react the same way you do. If I'm in front of somebody who's having like a kind of an adult tantrum, I will just kind of sit there. Part of me will want to shoot him. Part of me will want to shoot him, but I will not. And then at the end of it, I'll be like, well, I'm really sorry that you feel like this. Do you want to talk about it? I feel like there's something, what's going on?
Does that not make us sanctimonious pricks?
Perhaps, but he's a toxic prick himself. So, but 10 years ago, well, 15 years ago, I would, inside, I would just crumble. I would be crushed. I would believe the words that were spoken to me. I would take that information and it would stay inside my mind and inside my body for days.
Right.
I got to a point where I was like, I'm kind of small. I weigh about 51 kilos, which is 51, 52. I got so stressed that I got down to 47 kilos. I mean, like, you could see the bones all over my body. I looked anorexic, but I wasn't. I was being eaten from the inside by the toxicity that I was exposed to in this particular job. Because when you don't have the tools, you are not able to just sit there in front of these guys and be like, all right, okay, well, let's hear him out. He's an idiot. Poor thing. Look at him. Poor thing. Now I feel compassion, to be honest with you. I'm like, poor thing. God, he must be really having a really bad time. And then afterwards, you try and offer an olive branch. So what's going on? I don't think that kind of tone of voice or those words. I don't think they were very appropriate. Let's talk about it. But 15 years ago, I would be totally crushed by it. I would believe it at some level that I deserved it, that maybe I was at fault. And I took it home and I took it to bed and and it stayed with me for days until it made me sick. So, and the dynamic is pretty much similar even in home relationships, like couple relationships. When you have someone, I use the acronym CRUSH. When someone criticizes, I can't talk, criticizes you, when someone rejects you or ridicules you, where someone undermines you, when someone shames you or guilt trips you, or makes you feel ashamed and guilty about stuff that's not yours, and where someone is humiliating you. All of these things touch some programs inside of us. And until those programs are cleansed and reprogrammed and reinforced, a part of me, I grew up with a narcissist father. You remember?
Yeah, because I know. So before you move into that, because I know that I know that narcissism gets thrown around an awful lot. And I remember speaking to you last time, and I said it's funny because I ask a lot of my clients before they come on board, "Are you a narcissist?" And you said, "Well, how would they know?" I went, "No, but they'd have asked the question, so they'd have had the self-awareness to ask, is am I the one?" And a narcissist wouldn't ask that question. They wouldn't say, "Oh, am I a narcissist?" No,
Of course not.
no, right. So a question I have is if you're that person that when somebody is showering that shite on you in whatever they are, and if it just falls off you like a just water off a duck's back, does that make us narcissistic that we don't listen to that in interference?
No, because I feel compassion. I'm not a narcissist because I feel genuinely in my heart sorry for that person who has to lash out, intimidate, shame, guilt trip, interrupt, gaslight, humiliate another human being. It means that you are really not doing well.
Mm.
Now I feel compassion, and I think it's taken me a long time. Of course, I train with my dad, right?
Yes.
I hated my dad forever. I was so angry because he would never pay us a compliment, and he would like bring us up when he needed us for whatever, and then he would throw everything back in our face and never say good job, oh god, you look so pretty. And I remember the first compliment he paid me, I was 42, and I was like, well, thank you, dad, but I don't need your compliments anymore. I have learned to pay myself my own compliments. But can you imagine that someone with those programs, for me, love came through that channel. That's how I learned the love, the respect program, the authority program, because he was my father. So the adult and the
Yeah.
child.
Yeah.
So all my programs were all kind of distorted. You understand? Right?
Yes. Yeah.
So
Distorted programs.
right. So when I went into a relationship that was toxic, be it with an ex-boyfriend or be it later on at work, at my cellular level, that was normal because that's what my cells knew. That's what my body knew as
So that's the
being.
acceptance, isn't it? That's the part where you would, because you
That's
thought that was normal, you then go into like a
not
business
consciously.
place.
Don't get me wrong.
Yes, not consciously, but
Not
if
consciously.
you've had that programming or that all those scenarios through your life and you don't know any different, that then becomes normal
It becomes like, I would be hurt, but I would go back
because you thought that was normal.
because unconsciously, that's what my body knew, that's what the relationship was supposed to be like.
So if you went into a business and you have a narcissistic leader or a leader, maybe and I think a distinction should be, especially in social media, when you see things pop up, signs of a narcissist. And a lot of people will go, oh my God, I do that, do that, that. Oh, does that mean I'm a narcissist? No, everybody has narcissistic traits.
Absolutely.
Having a narcissistic trait, because I had to have this explained to me, does not make you a narcissist.
No.
And that's a really powerful part for people. Not everyone's a narcissist. And I know that the facts behind narcissism is in the scope of 100, there's only about 5% of people that are actually narcissistic or even born narcissistic. It's
Yes.
a very small amount. But the other 95%, or let's bring it down to 75% of people, have narcissistic traits. You might know how to make someone feel guilty. To be fair,
Absolutely.
I think my mum, as a joke, used to play tricks on me to make me feel guilty, but my mum wasn't a narcissist.
Absolutely. And you're very right, because we all have, like, if I yell at my kids, I can be excessively critical, and that's very demotivating, and
Yes,
that's very toxic.
yes,
Thankfully, that's not my entire relationship with my kids, but
yes,
those particular moments when I'm very tired and I lose my temper and I shout and I don't choose my words,
correct.
right? I become overly critical, and they get mortified. So that moment for them is very toxic.
Yes,
And that's just to give you confirmation that what you're saying is very true. We all have the capacity to criticize, to shame, to guilt trip, to gaslight, to interrupt, to offend, to aggress, all of it. But how chronic is this behavior?
yes,
How conscious is this behavior, or how chronically unconscious is this behavior? So when I go and examine what a toxic manager or team leader, or in my case, because here in Italy we have lots of small businesses, so small business owner, when the owner is toxic, the first thing I do is, much like yourself, I try and see if he's aware. Are you aware that you engage in toxic behaviors? Because that, for me, is a leap towards transformation. If they're not aware, well, now I tend to walk away. I don't even start working with them, even
yes,
if they're not narcissists. But if they're not aware, because
yes,
remember, I use the test, right? I use the EPA
yes,
test,
you do. Yes. The
right?
behavioral mapping
The
test.
behavioral mapping test. So in my test, I see if you have those behaviors. So I see whether you have kind of toxic tendencies, but I also see, because there's a particular trait that's called pressure management, and it tells me whether this person is living under enormous amounts of pressure. So basically lives in a toxic environment. So if I give, imagine your team member a test, and I see that he's super stressed out and has a really low pressure management score, I will say, when I go and deliver the test to him, I'm like, who in your environment engages in these types of behavior, criticizes, blah, 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 blah. And he'll say to me, oh, our colleague Joe, our supervisor Joe. I'm like, okay, talk to me about Joe. And then I will go and investigate whether Joe, I'll go and do an interview with Joe, and I'll try and find out whether Joe is actually carrying forth these behaviors because he is himself talks it out by somebody else, or
Mm,
because he is the main perpetrator. Okay. So it's kind of like trying to find, where is it born? Because sometimes the business owner is good, they're good men and women, and they try their best, and they're aware, they're responsible, they really put themselves out there to improve, stay in the spirit of Kaizen, constant self-improvement. So I know it's not them. So then my job is, because I'm like, look, there is a toxic environment here. So I need to find out who is sending out these behaviors? And I'll just start interviewing people. Or better yet, I'll just give the test to a group of people and then I'll know who it is.
Yes. So when you, because you work in what has, what would be three or four massive warning signs, red flags for a toxic workplace?
That are recognizable with the naked eye, not with the test. So I don't have the
Without
test.
the tests.
Okay.
But so a business leader right now is watching this podcast and there's like, why do I need Annalisa Corti? How do I know if I've got a toxic workplace?
Okay. What you need, one thing that you can see with your naked eye is if someone speaks in criticizing things in general. So they are critical of everything, of a lot of things.
Constant complainers.
Constant complainers.
So you say criticizing, I say complainers.
Well, it's both. So let's put C and C, double C,
Ah,
criticize and complain.
right.
Because if you are a team leader and you throw out, okay, guys, we got to do this, blah, 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 they will say, well, that's not going to work. That's missing this and that and that. And, you know, and then they'll complain about it, but they're also criticizing. So both they criticize and they complain. Another thing they do is they do not see the positive things. So imagine we have a meeting, but it starts late, right? So it starts 10 minutes late. Sometimes meetings start late because, you know, whatever. The person that might have toxic tendencies will only say, well, you know, every meeting starts late. Like I have work to do. But they will not remember that, yes, okay, we were 10 minutes late, but it was a great meeting. We came out with a great agenda, great plan of action. So just go to your job and be done with it, right? Their mind filters out good stuff, focuses on the negative stuff, details. Then another thing is they will be attracted and will talk about, like you're at coffee break. So you're talking about the weekend or whatever, you know, what did you do? How was your weekend? How was your vacation? And they will complain about their vacation. They will tell you everything that went wrong with the vacation they chose and paid for. So, you know, they're not able to stay in anything that is constructive and positive. Also, sometimes when the situation is really, really bad, another variable is that they will spread gossip, negative gossip.
Everyone likes a gossip, even though it
Yeah, I
shouldn't be
know,
done.
but not
Everyone likes a
negative.
gossip.
You know, I love gossip. Like, oh, do you know Joe is dating Gina and it's going great? That's gossip. But if I go to my team leader, so team leader, you're watching this and you want to know if you've got, you know, a little bit of toxic person in your team, if people come to you telling you that you should watch out because so and so are saying, so and so are doing, so hearsay, but negative hearsay, you really should call me. And
And is
we'll
that the
investigate.
leadership or the staff? Is because it's got.
Well, it's every human being, you know, it doesn't matter. But you gave me the example. If a team leader is watching this podcast today,
Yes.
what are the behaviors that they should watch out for? These are the behaviors.
Ah, you're absolutely right. Bang on, Annalisa. Bang on. That's three. What's the fourth?
Criticize, complain, negative hearsay. They generalize negative stuff. They filter out positive details, and they have never, ever anything nice to say. Like they're kind of gloomy and
So
sad
let's
and
say,
angry, you
so
know?
we are actually identifying the low resonating people.
Yes, to put it in another word. So on an emotional frequency scale,
They
these
are
people vibrate
depressed.
very, very low. There's a
Yes, they are.
latent anger, there's a latent hostility,
Yeah.
there's a latent aggression, frustration. They're not so low
It's
as
never their fault, it's
sadness,
everybody else's fault.
yes, obviously,
And they're not willing to
obviously.
do anything about it.
When they're really, really like gone beyond help, they will not, there's nothing we can do, we cannot do anything. But when I speak with someone and I'm helped
It's the
because
victim mindset, isn't it?
well, it's a victim mindset, and poor me, and the world really has in life has it out for me, and he gets the promotion and he doesn't do anything. And then you go and talk and you're like, this guy works his ass off and he works on weekends and he never says no when people ask him to help. And so with people, but you asked what a team leader needs to watch out for. These are the behaviors. The
So
friend,
if a team leader or like a CEO of a business is watching this, then they're going to be like, oh my God, two of my senior managers are doing this.
right? Then you call me, we fix it.
So I said I'd share a story about this is one that I always remember. For anyone watching this, they'll be like, oh my God, Cuddy, I need to do that. So I was in a place where, and I will show you the characteristics of this person. I can guarantee they're not going to watch the podcast, so it's absolutely fine. So I've always been very personable, very charming, and I've always got on very well with 90% of the upper management that I worked with and things like that. Because I always had that mindset of I'm here to do this. My goal is to get there. So what do I need to do that this person needs to see to get me there? Some people say walk the talk and talk the talk. I used to walk the talk and talk the talk. And the person who was above me, I'd always seemed to have good people above me that were like, Cuddy, you've got these skills. Let me see if I can move you into that area. However, this one person who was a cruise director was not that person. And I remember the amount of times they tried to throw me under a bus. And after about 2 months, I'd say within the first 4 weeks, there was let's go back to the really beginning then, because this is really important. There was a rumor of this person coming to the ship, and there was already a story about this person. And I was always sat in the room going, look, I'm not going to listen to rumors. We all have to really base our own understanding of somebody. Because I was in that place of like, no, we have to, I'm not going to listen to what you say about someone.
Right.
I
Let's
need,
make our own opinions based on
absolutely,
our experience. Absolutely.
absolutely. The unfortunate part of that statement was it took me about 6 hours to realize everybody was correct. That quick. It wasn't even a day. And I was like, oh shit, this is going to be a long contract. This is going to be an incredibly horrible contract. And I had to remember, because I'd been in that state of mourning and complaining. I'd been in that victim mindset. I didn't know what it was. It was depression for me, but I'd been in there. So I know that I have to do certain things, which is always a perspective thing, to get me, how can I, and the one thing I always ask is, how can I take one positive away from this absolute arsehole I'm working for? It was the only way I
Right.
was going to get through the contract. And
Absolutely.
it took me a few days to go, what is it I've got to find? I've got to find a positive. I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this. He's going to keep doing this. This is not going to change because he was never going to change.
No.
And I sat in my office, just, in a meditation or something like that. And I was just like, what's the one thing I can take away from this so I can enjoy the rest of my contract with working? And this mindset shift, the only thing I came away with is now I know how not to be as a leader. And the second that epiphany came in, I could not follow him around anymore to find out how much of an arsehole he was and how much I could learn for this is what people don't want. This is what people don't want. This is what people don't want. So I made this cognitive effort for, right, I'm just going to watch everything he does. He's an absolute shit show
Yeah.
and a bomb scare of a human being. I did find out what was going on in his life, but I did have to go and say to myself and to my wife, that's not my fucking problem. Why should I have to be suffering of what he's done in his life? Bullshit. So it was a long, hard contract, but that one mindset shift was the only positive. I'm gonna learn how not to be an atrocious cruise director. And it was the one saving grace that I could take away. I knew he was going to call me at inappropriate times. I knew he was a last minute thing. I knew he was always going to be just ready and sat waiting so he could say, "Oh, you did that wrong. You did that wrong." So I actually became better because I literally got so far in front of him. It was like when he'd call me, "Oh, but I need this to, it's done." "What do you mean I need to? No, it's done. Go and check." "Oh shit, right, yeah. Yeah, cheers. Thanks a lot." That was the only way I could get through that entire contract
How long
working.
was that?
It was so we worked 4 month contracts, but I'd done 2 months with somebody else, and then I did 2 months with this person, and I'd got on really well with the. And funnily enough, that the cruise director before that literally didn't do anything, so he delegated everything to me, which I never complained about. So I technically got the role of a cruise director while I was working for somebody else, and everyone's like, "Cuddy, you're doing too much." I'm like, "This is free training for me. I'm learning how to be a cruise director so that when I get the cruise director job, it's not going to be a struggle because I've literally done it." But I liked him and I got on well with him. And he was like, he was genuinely like, "Cuddy, I genuinely do sing your praises. I'm actually not doing anything. I've kind of zoned out the job. You're getting all the credit." And I was fine with that. And I'm still really good friends with him to this day, still besties. And he was like, "I didn't do anything." I'm like, "Didn't bother me in any way whatsoever. You were respectful, you were nice, you trusted me to go and do the job. And look what happened to me after." He was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." Still got on with him. And then this person came in, total micromanager, totally insecure, and he projected all that into everybody else. "Well, you've not done this, you've not done this, not done this." To that point when I was like, "You actually never asked us to do it, mate." A lot of us around, running around, trying to create shit, thinking we need to try and think how he's thinking so that we can minimize the amount of. He used to go to certain people within the business structure and say, "Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I need you to take a fall for this because I'm on my last wicket at work. So if I get in trouble, can you take the fall for me on this one?" Of which people were like, "Yeah, if you have to." What the actual Annalisa? That's, by the way, he still works for the same company. He
It,
still works for that company. Guess what? Who doesn't work for that company anymore? Me.
well, companies, well, this is a big corporation. And when when there's so many people, the further up you are from where the show is being run, right? Um, the less comprehension there is about these kinds of things because they don't live it every day. They don't have to talk to him. He may be great at selling himself, this guy, this manager, this cruise director. He may be great when he goes to his stakeholder meetings. He brings the numbers, he brings what they want to see, and
Yeah.
they're so removed from the day-to-day conversations, from the day-to-day motivations, from the day-to-day collaborations, and they really don't have a clue. I'm not justifying them, I'm just explaining. I think this is why it happens.
Yes.
Also because when you mention it to them, if you get access and are able to mention it, sometimes they don't even get rid of them because it's too expensive to get rid of. So in companies where the bottom line is the king and kingdom, these dynamics are not resolvable. Like, they're not. You cannot intervene. There's nothing you can do. You can walk away and get another job.
And that's why good people leave.
And that's why good people lead. But if the stakeholders are not willing to step down and go down onto the ship and be little flies on the wall and listen and observe how the people that they're giving the big money to are treating the people that are supposed to make the experience amazing for the paying customers, well, then you know what, you lose good people.
It's a
You,
shame, isn't it? Because the true cost of not taking action, Do you think this is a, and I'm asking you as the expert, do you think this is the challenge some business find themselves in? Is like, oh, God, we know he's an absolute nightmare, but unfortunately, the 30 years experience he's got is probably more beneficial than the 40 people that can't stand working with him.
I think that ignorance in this case is not bliss. You need to know. You need to look at the numbers. You need to look at the numbers. You need the stakeholders. You need the budgets. You need all of that. But you need to remember that humans make your numbers. And you need to remember that humans make your clients happy so that you keep having those damn numbers. So but in big corporations, sometimes there isn't the depth of spirit to have these kinds of conversations.
Yeah.
And so you just let them be. Frankly, I don't care. I'm happy that I don't work with big corporations because I work with smaller sized companies where I can sit the owner down or the CEO or the CFO and be like, you have a damn problem here and we need to fix it. And it's not the marketing and it's not the sales. It's that you've got two toxic managers that are squashing everybody around them. So what are we going to do about it?
Yeah.
And that is a much more direct conversation that I can have with them. And then we can try and rehabilitate. Where there's a will, there's a way. I have so many toxic people that have rehabilitated because they had just enough self-awareness to work on themselves. And it's not so hard. You need to
No.
work a little bit on your language. You
It's
need
always
to
language. Yeah.
you need to do a little bit of emotional regulation so that you don't throw out all that stuff onto other people. So it's not that hard. And so many have been rehabilitated. Those that we could not rehabilitate, well, we said goodbye to. Or if they were too expensive to fire, because that's also another reality.
It is.
Sometimes, I don't know how it works in Scotland, UK, I don't know. But here, sometimes when they get really, really high up, to kick them out, it would cost a fortune. Fine. So we find them, I call it a library job. We find them a library job. We demote them upwards. So we put them in a role that's very prestigious where they have no people to deal with.
Right, because they've still got a skill.
Because maybe they've got excellent brains. Maybe they can do other things. So if we cannot say goodbye to them because they're too expensive to fire in any way possible, and we explore the possibilities, then we create a little library for them and we put them in the library where they do not harm anybody. They're happier because what I've discovered is that this really these toxic people who are not
Gonna change.
going to change, they're just so sad, Cuddy. Just that's lost a piece of themselves.
Yes, I get that.
So they're not bad people, but they really struggle. They've lost a piece of themselves. They've done nothing in their life to get it back, to fix it, to cleanse it, to repair the damage. And now they're so broken that honestly, having to deal with people is exhausting for them.
Because they can't manage themselves.
Because managing their days is exhausting. So imagine managing their days with a team. So when you put them in the library, what I have found is that it's a win-win-win. They're happy and they perform better. The team is ecstatic and they perform better, and the numbers change. So this is in small to mid-level companies. I think multinationals, international corporations, I think there are different dynamics there.
Mm.
But where humans still play a role, this is doable. And it doesn't take like forever, you know, in a period of like 3 to 6 months, you turn things around.
This comes down to finding the finding the value in everybody who works for you. The moaners and the complainers have the place because there's a value somewhere else. So it's about changing the mindset towards finding the value in that person. It might be in the wrong place though, right?
Yes. If you put an angry introvert, maybe who has been defeated in his personal relationships, okay, maybe he's a professional genius, makes loads of money, but at home and in his personal life, he has been defeated by, well, his shortcomings that he hasn't worked on, obviously, right? He will bring that into the workplace. And so sometimes not taking this type of nuances into consideration when you promote someone, when you put them in a managing role, in a leading role, it has an impact that can be so wide. But if you recognize, if you learn to look at the person for who they are instead of who you want them to be in that role, in that moment, in your company, then all of a sudden if this person cannot work as a team leader and you don't have a library to put them into, you try and rehabilitate. If they do not rehabilitate, you make their life miserable until they resign.
Well, they already make their own life miserable. So, what's their tolerance of miserableness?
No, but as a company, I mean, I've,
So that's where you're saying that as a company, that's where the excessive micromanaging of the performance opportunity paperwork comes out. That's where the paperwork. That's why there's always a bad distinction towards. We had performance opportunity logs at Royal Caribbean, but I used them as a positive tool. So actually, generally, about once a month, I'd everyone come in and say, right, by the way, just want to let you know this has been great. Done this, and this. All right, anything else? No, you've actually been doing really well. So I want to just make sure I've written it down how well you've done. All right, okay. And then the odd times I'd have a conversation with them and say, oh, by the way, is there another way we can look at this so we get a better outcome? They'd kind of known they'd had the chat, but I'd been giving them so many positives that they were like, oh, I actually will absolutely try and learn to you. You've seen my value. Now I want to get better for you. So it's about changing that concept towards it's the carrot and the stick, isn't it? Some people, there's too much stick.
no, some people use only
I mean,
stick.
it's constant stick, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you
It's like
find the
what they call
complainers and the
tough
mourners
love,
find the stick? Yes.
you know. But again, and I'm not justifying them, but I'm offering um, a little bit of an explanation. People who are chronically using the stick, so let's say a chronically toxic person, that's the program that they know since forever. That's what they have grown up with. That's what has been reinforced as a valid relational program. So, and this is what I have rehabilitated men that were older than me when I started this job that were super demotivating, they were toxic, and people will tell me, you got to go and help him because he's making all our lives miserable. And I would go and I'd be this young business consultant with this older business owner who's demotivating his business partners and his team. And and I looked at him and I was like, I'm really sorry for whatever has happened to you. But we need to work through this because your people need to love you. And right now, they don't. And in a small company, Cuddy,
That's-
people need to hold you in high, high regard.
What was his reply?
And he looked at me. I might well up now talking about this. Oh God, I'm getting emotional. Is this okay if I'm getting emotional on
Of
your
course
podcast?
it is.
Oh, he got teary-eyed, just like me now. And he said, nobody had ever asked me that before. So
No
you
one
see,
ever asked what's going on.
so even his business partners, they would say, oh, stop being so demotivating and so toxic and stop criticizing everything. But they didn't
Well,
ask,
technically, they were doing the same thing to him. They were criticizing.
So it was really a moving moment, as you can see, like 10 years later, because this was my first year as a business consultant. I mean, I got this super hard client and I was like, oh shit, what am I gonna do? And we're friends now. 10 years later, we're friends, we're stayed friends. He's not my client anymore, but we stayed friends. And but that's it. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think compassion in an external figure has the ability to rehabilitate the person that is also willing to be helped. He was willing because he loved his company. And his company has gone from 1.4 million to 2.5 with, and they've opened another branch. So they're doing 2.5 million on one branch and 1.2 in the second branch. And he hasn't changed. So he's still a little bit grumpy. And he's still a little bit grumpy. And I tease him about it. So when I ask him, how's it going? Well, start from the positive. We can get to the negative later. Okay. So he's still a little bit grumpy and he still kind of sees everything that doesn't work. But now he regulates. And if he has to motivate somebody, just like you said, he can start from the praise. And then, so you can learn. I am so profoundly convinced that anyone that has the desire to seek self-improvement can find it.
It's true. It's absolutely true. Yes.
They need someone maybe to guide them through it. But if they want to, even by themselves, they could do it. It might take longer, but they could do it. But that flame of, I want to be happy. I want to be at peace. I want to get along with everybody. I don't know how, but I want it. Great. That's all we need. We'll figure out the rest. So I think that, it's really important for bigger companies to take care of the human factor.
It's often missed, isn't it?
The bigger the company, I mean, at least from what I can see, the bigger the company, the easier it is to miss it. But a chief happiness officer, this should be the job. The primary job would be to investigate, assess whether there's toxic behaviors, and then, rehabilitate, neutralize, eliminate, whatever you have to do.
That should be my job, Chief Happiness Officer.
Yeah, you should. Mine too. I could be a good chief happiness officer, I think.
I'd seen Stephen Bartlett putting out into the world that they wanted to employ a chief happiness officer. It's a role within the business now.
No, I know it is.
Yeah, I know. Absolutely. We would.
I just don't know that is such a frequent position.
No.
I don't know how frequent it is that companies or big corporations have a chief happiness officer, but they should.
Right now, that's what we're going to change our LinkedIn profiles to. I am now going to put in chief consultant, chief of happiness.
No, chief happiness consultant.
Consultant. That's it. That is literally, I'm writing it down. I'm writing it down.
Yeah, you see, personal efficiency sounds sterile, but personal happiness specialist, that sounds better. I should change my title as well. Personal happiness specialist. Are you changing your title?
I am literally writing it down. My LinkedIn profile from next week is going to be Chief Officer of Happiness Consultant. Boom. That's the power of the podcasts. The amount of things that come out of the podcast, even though it's me and you talking, but with the subjects that we're fully aware of, it's immense. To be fair, I don't know if anybody else is going to get any enjoyment out of this, but I got enjoyment out of this content, Annalisa.
Yeah, I love this. I love this topic.
I tell you what popped into my head while you were talking so gracefully is like, you should do the test on me live in the podcast. We should do the test
All
on
right.
me live in the podcast so everybody understands the power of what your test is, and then you do the feedback with me in the podcast so that everybody, because that's the best way for people to understand what you do.
All right. I'll give you the test. I'll send you the link. God, well, I don't know what's going to come out because it's your answers. I don't
Yeah,
see
no.
your
Do you
answer. I
not think
just
that would be
see,
one of the most powerful ways for us to get Annalisa Corti into the world?
okay,
True
I'm
or false?
excited. I'm excited. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do
Is there anything, because I'm conscious of time, is there anything else you want to share in the world about how you can change a toxic workplace in less than 3 days?
it. I think um, Buddha said um, that a man that has peace in his heart can never make war.
Oh,
So if I only had 3 days, I would teach everybody a very deep meditation. I would really bring their bodies into a peaceful state. And I would teach them in 3 days from that peaceful state to self regulate and to articulate, to change their language. That's what I would do in 3 days. That's not a lot of time, Cuddy.
it's
I
not a
mean,
lot of time. It's
three
not.
days,
But I know we both believe in changes quicker than people like to think it is.
But change, if you're a 50-year-old man, how old are you, Cuddy? Can I ask? I'm 50. You don't ask a woman her age, but I said it. So,
I look a hell of a lot older than you, but I am actually younger than you. I'm 48.
okay, so you're 48.
And
So
you look a hell of a lot better than I do, by the way.
it's the Mediterranean
It's the
diet.
Mediterranean diet is what it is, absolutely.
Now, in 48 years, in 50 years, okay, not us, because we've been working on ourselves for many years, right? But take anybody.
Still am.
Yeah, me too. Exactly. So take somebody who doesn't is not in our line of work, and they have been carrying the weight and the sadness and the anger and the disappointment and the discouragement for 48 years. 3 days, they're going to taste a new way of life. But if they're not supported through a period of time, they will eventually go back to their programmed state.
Correct. That
That's
is
why
very
change,
true.
real change, it takes repetition, it takes time. But in your 3 days, we can give them an injection of love and life and support that could definitely make a dent.
I like that.
We could do it
Absolutely.
together. We could
Annalisa, absolutely.
we
I
could do
did
it
a tr-
together.
I did I got asked to go to a business and do some training, and I was given a 2 hour spot, but the other previous speakers did went longer, so they went, Cuddy, I'm so sorry, you've only got 15 minutes. I'm like, yep, not a problem, that's fine. So I did, because it was a very male dominated business. It was builders.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
That might get took out of context in all fairness. If that gets snipped the wrong way, that's not going to look great, Annalise. I can tell you that for a fact now. But I did it. Something that I remember a long time ago is that, when there's two men driving along in a male focused environment, there's a lot of banter, and there's a lot of piss taking. Oh, you're a wanker for this, and oh,
Right.
yeah. And I said to him, right, tell me one thing you like about the person across from you, and then that person tell me what one thing you like about them at work. And the owner of the business got choked up and went, I can't believe what you've just done there. That I said, I know, because everyone's negative and we have banter, but until you know what somebody likes about, and they all went around each other. Well,
Beautiful.
and that took less than 15 minutes, and he still talks about it now.
It's
And
beautiful. It's
so
beautiful.
change is quick. And I said, all you need to do, guys, is on a daily basis. You're not going to want to do it, obviously, because you're guys and we've got banter. Tell one person what you liked about them and why you like
Yeah.
working with them. One thing.
That's
And then,
one of the rehabilitating exercises that you have to pay 3 compliments a day,
yes,
30 days.
so
Because
simple.
it's so simple. It's so simple.
Annalisa Corti, it's been an absolute pleasure
Cuddy Cudworth, mine too.
being on the Mind Management Mentors podcast. I am fully aware that you'll be back on the podcast because I think it would be valuable to do the test for anybody watching. And we'll get it out into the world even more. Annalisa, is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up this podcast? You can have the final words.
I would like to remind everybody who's listening and watching that 5 minutes, remembering to love yourself and to love the people that are around you, are the best investment that you can make to build a non-toxic environment at home and at work.
And on that bombshell, always remember if it's in the mind, it can be managed. And as I always finish the podcast, big love from Cuddy, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Mind Management Mentors podcast.